Before we begin, I want to say that this video is my personal opinion and experience. You should take everything with a grain of salt. In the meantime, you can also share your experiences in the comments. I'd love to read them. Also, all the footage was recorded on PC, so I play a little worse. With a gamepad, the game's easier. Keep that in mind. Anyways, get comfortable, grab some snacks, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, and press the bell button. Let's begin. Hi everyone, that's Black here, and welcome back to my game corner. I wanted to have some rest from videos, but my curiosity got the better of me, so here we are. Hollow Knight Silksong has captured the hearts of hundreds of thousands worldwide. Massive online popularity. On the first day of its release, September 4th, 2025, Steam completely shut down, making it completely unavailable to purchase the game. Nearly 7 years of waiting literally contained a time bomb of fans who rushed to play the game as soon as the Steam page was updated. I was there too. As funny as it sounds, I initially didn't want to buy Silksong. And not because I was suddenly sure that the game was bad or didn't wait for it, but because I wanted to play it when the general interest in the game died down. I do this almost every time when something particularly popular comes out, so I'm used to it. But this time, everything was different. I thought for some time and then bought the game literally the day after its release. My anticipation and curiosity got the better of me. Especially since I was just heading out of town where I could play the latest Metroidvania in peace on my beloved Steam Deck. First things first, I love Hollow Knight with all my heart. Not as much as Ori, of course, but I love it. It's a dark, sad story about a vast kingdom. Every corner is filled with a life, every character has their own little story. Without knowing anything, you move on to figure out what's going on. You listen to the bugs you encounter along the way, fight infected shells, defeat bosses, and even if you get stuck on one, it's funny to try again and again, especially since you're always trying to find the most useful and convenient charms. The variety of moves, bugs, huge lore, kingdom, and ways to fight enemies turned my head to such an extent that I played the game for as long as 107 hours, which is really a lot for me. And after all this, of course, I waited. I waited for an even bigger world. I waited for a new adventure, but this time from the perspective of the nimble and swift Hornet. I waited for something new. I waited for Hollow Knight, but better, bigger, and more interesting. I waited, and here it is in my hands. Act 1. Path of the Warrior. The Moss Grotto was the beginning of my adventure. It felt completely normal, as I'd seen this location many times in trailers. But in reality, I was already extremely excited, because, damn it, this is a new adventure! The game started off pretty strong. The new protagonist felt more comfortable to play, and even the downward slash at an angle wasn't a problem. And it will be the same throughout the entire playthrough. This is important because there have been a lot of negative reviews complaining about this. However, for me, it was incredibly easy, and overall, I was quite pleased with the new attack.
Nope.
At first, nothing really bothered me, though I noticed there was already a boss in the first starting area. It's not that it's very difficult, in fact it was actually easy, so I shrugged it off, but still. I figured it was no big deal since the boss was so easy. But in essence, it already hinted that the game would be moving quickly. My wanderings through the new world led me to Hunter's March. After running back and forth between the bench and the arena a couple of times, I realized it was a bit early for me to go there, meaning I needed to go somewhere else. So I went somewhere else. The further I went, the stranger the game seemed. I am wandering aimlessly for ages, and no one knows where I'm going, no abilities, and the strangest thing is that no matter where I go, I die surprisingly quickly. It didn't really seem that strange until the fourth course. The boss is easy, I swear, but only then did I start to feel like I was being sent to the bench way too quickly. And that's when I started keeping an eye on the boss and realized it hits for 2 masks. I thought, well, okay, maybe it's just this boss, it's like he has fire attacks or something, maybe every hit makes it explosive. Anyways, I pretended it was normal, and after defeating the 4th course, I continued playing. By this time, I wasn't really enjoying the game anymore, but I kept thinking that maybe it was something wrong with me, maybe I wasn't in the mood for it. Basically, I thought the problem wasn't the game's balance, but me. After a while, news started appearing about the game's difficulty. People were complaining that almost all enemies dealt 2 musks of damage and that it wasn't normal, and I started noticing it in my game too. Starting with Greymore, my gameplay became an attempt to avoid any encounter with any living creature. Every fight became a hope for it to end quickly. The boss fight with Moorwing completely killed all hope for any kind of bright future. The game was starting to irritate me. For the record, I've never been the type to rage quit. I've never done that because, well, why would I? I've played a lot of games. Hollow Knight, Cuphead, I had fun with them. I'd die, come back, play again until I got it right, and I liked it. I was having fun. Remembered that? Yeah, please remember these words. I didn't enjoy Hollow Knight Silksong. I was angry. I hated it. I was hurt. And now I knew for sure the problem wasn't me after all. You see, the developers decided that making Hollow Knight Silksong with a sharp difficulty increase was a great idea, because everyone has played Hollow Knight, right? No, not everyone. So, what problems do we have in the end? Most enemies deal 2 masks of damage. You can't heal yourself because you need to do a certain number of hits to fill the silk bar. After all, you can't heal yourself for 1 or 2 masks in this part. There are almost no invincibility frames, which means that after 1 hit, a second one can immediately fly in if you don't miraculously get out of the problem area. By the way, hitboxes play a huge part here too. I still have problems with understanding them. This was made worse by the fact that it wasn't just the bosses. It affected regular enemies as well. At some point, the game transformed from a Metroidvania into a fear simulator at the side of every enemy, because they often simply send you to the nearest bench to cry over yet another failure. The Shellwood was the location where I truly experienced this. It's especially worth noting that enemies are often located in platforming sections, which, believe it or not, messes with progression. Who would have thought? You end up either trying to find a way to run past them quickly or starting to pick them off one by one with pinpoint precision. But the boss of this area was the thing that I was ready to tear apart, was the breaking point of my nerves. The one I'd passed countless times, returning to the bench again and again, running back the same damn path throughout the same room again and again. Sister Splinter. Someone will probably point out that she's an easy boss, and I agree. She's very easy. But she deals 2 masks of damage herself. Her arena is small, which she further encloses with vines. They can be broken, but that's not easy, you know? And then she spawns her damned summons! Those stupid leaves or whatever! Ultimately, you're faced with a choice. Either you save your silk for healing or spend it on a silk spear, without which you practically can't beat the boss. You'll have to choose the silk spear and pray that you'll hit the boss and the summons, and they won't hit you. Sister Splinter was the first boss that made me want to quit playing and took me a full day. I just didn't want to try anymore because I didn't see the point. Eventually, I pulled myself together and finally beat her. To do what? To gain the ability to climb walls and to get to another boss. Yes, the Widow isn't a mandatory boss, but a very rewarding one, as I eventually discovered. The problem is, you have to go through the same room, but to the right instead of the left. And that didn't make things any better. I was furious. Just 10 minutes ago, I barely got past Splinter, and now there's another boss? Oh, come on. And here I was so burned out that I decided to end it. No, I didn't stop playing the game, I didn't stop progressing, don't worry. I went to get the Wanderer Crest. Hollow Knight Silksong features a crest system. While the first game allowed various builds using charms, in Silksong you can equip charms on different crests, each with its own unique properties. The Wanderer Crest, which we'll discuss later, is a crest that makes the attack shorter but faster, transforming Hornet's moveset into the Little Ghost's moveset from the first game. I didn't want to pick it up at first. Why? Because I thought it was too much of a simplification of the game, that it wasn't designed this way and that it was supposed to be played with Hornet's moveset. But the game irritated me so much that I couldn't take it anymore. Call me a casual player who played Pantheons and had fun. Call me a casual player who enjoyed Cuphead, but I don't care. I couldn't take it anymore. It was too difficult, too stifling, and too irritating to the point I didn't want to play it anymore at all. Act 2. Happy Pills. Airing the Wanderer Crest marked a new chapter in my game, because suddenly the balance started working. I didn't notice it much on the Widow, because I'd already been playing the boss for quite a while and could basically just memorize her attacks. On the other hand, the game really started working better, especially since I unlocked Bellheart. Here they fixed my needle, gave me someone to sell my rarities to, and plus it was just nice to see the town come to life. In fact, my game immediately came alive. I was literally filled up with the hope that I would have a terribly fun and interesting game. All my complaints about the game immediately disappeared. Any mistakes I made on bosses turned out not to be the game's imbalance, but my own personal mistakes and shortcomings. The game became more fun. Let me explain in more detail what distinguishes the Wanderer Crest from, say, the Reaper Crest. Or, for that matter, any other crest in the game. The Wanderer Crest grants the Little Ghost's moveset from the first game, and it also balances the game. Let's remember what problems there were with other crests. Slow Strike, you don't get enough silk from your opponent because you deal too few hits per attack. All this is complemented by a small window for dodging after receiving damage, and damage for 2 masks, which is well felt, allowing for only 3 mistakes, excluding healing. What does the Wanderer Crest bring? Speeding dealing damage, although the needle becomes shorter. The risk is worth it, because even if you lose 2 masks at a time, you will get more silk filling the bar, more frequent opportunity to heal. It turned out that the Wanderer Crest allows the player to take risks, not to be afraid of them, just as it allows them to be unafraid of mistakes. You stop dodging every attack. Instead, you start looking for an opportunity to hit the boss in every attack. You're not afraid to get closer. You're not afraid to make mistakes, because you'll have the opportunity to correct them almost immediately. Silksong starts working. While observing the community, I noticed many people complaining about the difficulty of the Last Judge, the final boss before the game's second act. Reaching her, as you can imagine, wasn't a problem for me. I really enjoy platforming after all. So I saved on the bench and run to the judge, and it begins. 1 loss, 2, 3, and you know what? I'm starting to have fun. I like this boss. It finally is awoking emotions in me. I'm starting to learn it, understand it, and I'm enjoying it. Every mistake is now experience. Every misstep can be corrected. The game is starting to feel like Hollow Knight. Now I'm really hooked on the game, especially since I'm almost at the Citadel. Will they really give me answers to all my questions? Will I finally find out why I'm here? Or maybe I'll end up in a big holy place with lots of bugs. But after the light from the Citadel, I found myself in a place that was disappointing and revealed a new problem with Silksong that I hadn't noticed before. The Citadel feels like a large clock. Numerous mechanisms, various bugs, working, darkness almost everywhere, and most importantly, not a single NPC. As I continued wandering the Citadel, I began to feel increasingly uninterested. I saw no point in my journey. I didn't understand where I was going or why. I saw no purpose or meaning. To find out why I was here, well, why? You see, the difference is, besides the main storyline, Hollow Knight was filled with a million of smaller stories that were interesting to explore. These stories are simply absent here. Yes, in the Citadel you will meet Grindel again, who will behave not very nicely. You'll meet Lace again, whom in the first couple of minutes I literally wanted to kill because she simply pisses me off with her behavior. Every NPC in the game, with the possible exception of Chakra, looks kinda like Chinese knockoff of Hollow Knight character for me. For example, fan favorite Sherma looks eerily like Mila, Grindel kinda reminds me of Zote, the Needlesmith and the Nailsmith, the Relic Keepers, but they're all somehow not quite the same. The Relic Keepers are the ones I find easiest to use as an example. Let's remember Lem. He was a snobbish bug who treasured his collection of relics, but beyond his little shop, he has his own special moments, his own story. You can even meet him at the fountain. The Relic Keeper here is an aggressive worm who speaks very rudely towards Hornet. It makes you feel somehow unworthy. Perhaps that's just my perception, perhaps I'm not conveying my point quite correctly, but now imagine that all this time you weren't actually walking alone. Besides Hornet, there are pilgrims trying to reach the Citadel, and they fade into the background almost immediately. You don't sense their presence, you don't feel that they are contributing anything. It feels empty, lonely here. You rarely meet anyone you can talk to, you rarely meet living bugs, and most of them are more likely to scold or insult you than to tell you their story. Of all the characters, the one I remember most was the cartographer Chakra. She has her own goal and motivation. She appears quite frequently, and every conversation with her begins with an introductory phrases about the progress of her search. Cornifer was a similar character, but he didn't seem to have the same richness in his character as Chakra. Yes, Cornifer spoke interestingly about new locations, and it was interesting to listen to him, but with Chakra, you always worry and fret. Has she found her mentor? Is there a trace of her mentor here? Does Chakra like this place? Do the bugs here appeal to her? Chakra provides more information and is so interesting to listen to. It's pleasant to just sit next to her and listen to her sing. So yeah, a paragraph of love for Chakra. I haven't encountered more memorable characters though. At least I can't think of anyone right off the bat. After a little thought, I'll recall Garmand and Zaza, the Flea Caravan, and I might mention the Blacksmith's daughter, but it'll take me a while. Ask me about Hollow Knight characters and I'll immediately think of Sly, the three Nail Masters brothers Oro, Mato, and Sheo, Cornifer and his wife Zelda, Mila, Auntie Salubra, the brave warrior Tiso, the boastful Zote, the great Grimtroop, and of course the Elder Bug, and many other bugs who might not even be the story bosses. Many of them are just random bugs that are so easy to get into your head. And that, for me, is the biggest downside of Silksong. It's stuffy, lonely, full of hostile bugs, and that's frustrating. After the judge, I didn't feel like I'd won. I didn't feel like I'd accomplished anything. In the Citadel, I didn't feel like I'd entered a new, more luxurious location. I didn't meet anyone who could explain anything. I didn't find anyone I wanted to stay with. And so, here I am. I'm sitting somewhere in the Citadel, and now I'm in despair. I don't know why I should go anywhere. I don't know why I should keep playing. It felt like there was no point. I was devastated, upset, and disappointed. And the phrase, "this isn't what I expected," was on the tip of my tongue. At this point, the place where I left off is also a place for me to figure out what to do next. 21 hours into the game, but why continue? The only reason I was willing to keep playing was the more challenging platforming, which I certainly love, and the experience. After all, experience is incredibly important to me, as you know. But now, even experience was becoming less of a compelling reason to continue. If you want to support me with more than just liking and subscribing, consider checking out the link in the description. There you can donate any sum of money starting from $1. Any donation is appreciated. Thank you in advance. Act 3. the last note. My final word is Silksong is changing, and that's normal. Updates are currently being released that are trying to fix the balance, and they seem to be making some progress. I think everything could have been simplified by moving the Wanderer crest closer to the beginning of the game. Then the player would have had a choice between an easier and a more difficult gameplay. And overall, this would have allowed the player to have unique levels of difficulty without including difficulty levels per se. The bottom line of this video is simple. I didn't like it, but that's my personal experience and my opinion. You in general have the right for your experience, your opinion, and you have the right to say that you liked the game. And that I am an idiot and I didn't understand anything. And that's normal, and there is no problem with that. But the Steam reviews have taken a very specific stance, which I unfortunately share. I admit, I am disappointed and upset. This is the first time I experienced such negative emotions about the game. Mostly I just wanted to share this with you, and that's why I made this video. Maybe I haven't gone far enough, maybe I haven't seen enough, maybe the game will open up again, but for me, the fact that I don't want to continue playing is a huge indicator. And again, I don't claim to have the absolute right opinion. I simply wanted to share my feelings with you, especially since people are still discussing this to this day. And I think I should have spoken out as well. And that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and of course click the bell to get notified about my new videos. Have a nice one. Bye.